Internet at large. It is me, technically Clay, and I am back again for yet another stream. Um, let's see. So yesterday, for those who were around, I my I my cat, one of my cats had to get surgery, but she was fine. She gets bedroom access for now, even though I'm allergic, just so that she can be away from the other cats. So, um, she's enjoying that. She's recovering nicely, so that's good. Today was just work, work, work. I worked out over lunch. It was chest day. Went pretty good. Could have been better. And I made a pasta with some leftover rotisserie chicken that I got from Costco. It was in the freezer. So, what I do a lot of the times, because me and my wife don't usually make it through a whole rotisserie chicken in like one sitting or whatever. Like, we get tired of chicken basically. By the time it would start going bad. So I usually just shred it and freeze it and then use it in whatever recipe I can find in the future. And yeah, it turned out pretty good. Um, let's see. I guess that's about it. And here I am. Here I am for you, the viewer. Uh, so today we got some more news. We got all the news, every of the news. You know, I didn't have a ton of time to prepare today. I was a little busy at work, so I couldn't, while I obviously put 100% of my time and effort into work, I was not able to find little bits of the day to find some good videos for us. But I mean, I think I found a few. And I figured I would hit some of the highlights for today first. So, this is some breaking news from CNN, the Clinton News Network. The head of the U.S. Counterterrorism Center announces resignation. So I heard about this today. I read the statement that he put out, and while it does sound based, I also think, like, because it's like, he's like, fuck this war or whatever. I also think we should keep in mind that this guy was in the Trump administration, and I think that he was kind of, my understanding is he was kind of like a maybe like more Groyper oriented, like anti-Israel sort of dude. So, while his words may have been based, they were probably not for the right reasons. But anyway, let's go ahead and just get into this. The Clinton News Network, top Trump intel official Joe Kent resigns over Iran war. Let's see what they got to say.
We just learned, get this, the director of the National
Is that Wolf Blitzer? I can't remember. I think that's him, but I can't remember. He looks a lot older than I remember.
Terrorism Center, Joe Kent, has just announced he's resigning. CNN national security reporter Zachary Cohn is joining us right now. Zachary, what more can you tell us about this dramatic development?
Yeah, Wolf, this appears to be a significant resignation at the senior-most levels of the Trump intelligence community. This is Joe Kent. He was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. He appearing to post on X a resignation letter that he submitted, citing misgivings over the Trump administration's decision to launch its war with Iran. Now, Kent, in this letter, writes in part, quote, as a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife, Shannon, in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people, nor justifies the cost of American lives. Now, Kent, in his apparent post on X,
pretty based. I mean, that's a good opinion to have.
Does also seem to suggest that there was no imminent threat.
Of course not.
It has been used and cited by the Trump administration as justification.
We've said there's an imminent threat from Iran for like 30 or 40 years now. If it hasn't happened by now, I don't think it was going to happen in the next like month or two,
For launching this war against Iran. He says that essentially the administration manufactured this idea of an imminent threat, and that is part of the reason why he's deciding to resign from his...
They are pussies. They can't even... I wish that they could just say stuff the way that I say stuff. And that's why I guess people tune in to me. It's because I will tell you straight up that, yeah, that it's bullshit that it was an imminent threat. Now, CNN has to, couch all their language and be very careful and so they don't get sued by Daddy Donald or whatever, but That's one of the reasons nobody trusts these bozos anymore. You got to be more honest, dude. You got to just say, yeah, it was obviously there was no imminent threat.
Post today.
Let me read a little bit from this letter that he wrote to President Trump. This is Joseph Kent. He works for the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. But he writes this. He says, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. I support the values and the foreign policies that you campaigned on in 2016, 2020, 2024, which you enacted in your first term. Until June of 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and
I mean, again, I always have to say, you're an idiot. You're an idiot if you thought he was going to be anti-war. Like, I do believe that any administration at this point in time probably would have gotten duped into this or whatever, duped into this, quote unquote, by Netanyahu, because this has been a goal of our foreign policy, like, consensus State Department for the last 30 or 40 years. And, like, the timing was just right. Israel is never going to be any more popular than it is today. They are losing popularity by the minute. Like, so it was existential for them. They thought this was our last chance. And I assure you that everybody in the State Department also thought that this was our last chance. And yes, these people are all idiots and they're all floundering and they're all dumb. But they're like, I don't know. It was always going to happen regardless, but also, like, obviously Trump did a lot of warmongering shit in his first term. So a lot of this stuff is kind of just like standard face-saving bullshit, pretending like, living in a fantasy world where Trump was some peaceful dove his first administration. I assure you he was not. In fact, he set a lot of the groundwork for this current this current like intervention that we're doing back then. He moved the U.S. embassy, right, to Jerusalem, if I remember, or like something along those lines, and like a slap in the face to the Palestinians, and like all that sort of stuff, all just set the groundwork for all this to happen. So, he threw away the JCPOA or the nuclear agreement or whatever as well. Like, he basically perfectly set up the stage like for his next administration to go to war with Iran. So, but yeah.
Depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. And he added this. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani and by
that was one of the events that led directly to this intervention right now. It works until it doesn't, man. I mean, it's really not that hard of a concept to understand. It works until it doesn't. You assassinate these high-level officials and you assassinate these leaders at every step of the way. And yeah, it's going to work because America has a huge amount of leverage in terms of our military capabilities of like going against us is like going to be bad for you or whatever, like materially. But it's going to work until it doesn't. And this is the time that it doesn't. And it's like, if you keep gambling over and over and over and over again, eventually one time it's not like, eventually you're going to roll snake eyes or whatever. So it's a very stupid strategy because it has inevitable failure.
Feeding ISIS. He goes on and says more, Sabrina, but those are powerful words.
I think what's also important here is this is an appointee that was not someone that you could consider not aligned with the president. I mean, this is someone that espoused the MAGA-based views and was appointed by, of course, Tulsi Gabbard. And so the fact that he has issued a very public resignation and the fact that he's also said that Iran did not pose an imminent threat to the United States, a case that was made by Donald Trump multiple times and many other officials in this administration, including the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, saying that Iran posed an immediate threat to the United States. And he's someone that clearly had access to intelligence matters, saying that they did not. I think you could potentially see other resignations from this administration, people deep within the MAGA base that do not support this war of choice. And frankly, it is a war of choice. It is something that the president chose to do. And he has said, kind of on his own conscience that.
Good for you for saying that. But I'm not so sure. Most most diehard MAGAs, like even though they claim to have like not want these wars to happen, are completely and totally vapid and unprincipled. They're not going to they will change their opinions overnight if it means achieving, the kind of fascist goals that they're trying to. Um, so I don't necessarily think we're going to see a wave of resignations. I think we'll only see that sort of stuff when Trump actually loses his ability to control the party, which is still like that still hasn't happened.
He decided to initiate this war as well.
Yeah, he even said that he got Israel on board.
Yes.
But in this letter, Joe Kent says he believes that this is started because of pressure from Israel and its American law.
Also, there's reporting, there's polling now. The majority of Americans think that as well. So they really should stop framing that as some sort of like crazy opinion. Like that is the main primary opinion in America.
Bobby, I'm wondering, General, what you think about the last one of the last lines here. He says, "You can reverse course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further toward decline and chaos. You hold the cards." I'm wondering at this point, several weeks into this war, you have Iran saying that the Strait of Hormuz will never go back to the conditions where it was before. How do you chart a new course?
He needs to cut his losses, that being President Trump. He needs to cut his losses and shut this down as quick as he possibly can.
How? I keep asking how. Like Iran has said they're not going to let America control the de-escalation. Like Iran is going to choose when the war ends. That's what they keep saying. So what does he do then? Again, this is why you can't just go into wars and assume that you are going to have complete and total control, because wars always develop a life of their own. It always takes at least two to tango, right? And if one person says, "Nah, brah, we're not over yet. We're keeping this going," then like what are you supposed to do? You can't declare victory, or else then it's like if they say, "Nah, we're going to keep pounding, we're still going to close the Strait of Hormuz and we're going to keep pounding Israel until we feel like it," then you look like a failure. You look like weak, even more weak than we already look right now. So yeah, I don't like. Sorry, there's nothing we can really do at this point. We decided to get into it, so we're probably just going to keep escalating, if I had to guess.
That would be the best thing at this solution. I'm not sure if he's got the capability, the wherewithal to actually do that politically. But I mean, this is not going well, and it's going to get worse. And bully for Mr. Joe Kent for having the political courage to stand up for what he believes. This is a guy that's a big-time MAGA supporter, has always been.
God.
Very much like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who you had on your show yesterday. I mean, these are significant resignations from the MAGA world.
Don't compare this freak to to our woke queen, Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, like I don't know. There's nothing these people love more than finding one of their reasonable Republicans. Like anytime they find someone who says something even remotely reasonable, they latch on to them. I don't know, like what's something that latches? I don't know. You know what I mean. I was a little slow there. I didn't come up with anything, but they always love to latch on to any of these people who say just something remotely reasonable. It's the same way that like people love to latch on to like any news story about a cop that like does something good or like plays basketball with a black person or something, and like they love to just pump that shit through their veins because it's like, see, not all of them, like, it's I don't know, they love doing that shit. It annoys me.
People need to take note, and I hope that this leads to the resignation of other members of the administration, because he is absolutely spot on target. This is not in the best interest of the United States to continue this war, and President Trump needs to shut it down as quickly as he possibly can.
Let me read another sentence or two from his resignation letter. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times, and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost.
Okay, to all the people who do think it was purely Israel that got us into this or whatever, I don't think so. I do think that Israel like played their part and played their role, and they play it really well, of being a belligerent actor that, gives the opportunities for America to do the crazy shit that it wants to do. But even Iraq back in 2003 or whatever, all of that was foreign policy like papers that had existed for, you know, 10 years at that point of like what they wanted to do in the region and in the Middle East. So these aren't things that just like, you know, some president got tricked into doing. They're like by Netanyahu or whatever. Like there's a kind of like back and forth between Israel and America, because I always say Israel is just an extension of America. It's essentially an American colony or an American territory in the Middle East. So we're not like we're allowing ourselves, quote unquote, to be tricked, I guess, if you want to think of it that way.
Cost of American lives.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we've already seen 13 American service members die in this war. Over 200 have been injured, and their conditions have ranged from very serious to some have been returned to duty. But I think, you know, we've heard Pete Hegseth say this time and again, that more Americans...
It also could be higher. Iran, I mean, it's probably somewhere in the middle, like it always is, but Iran says that 200 military members have died and 300 injured or whatever. But, you know, like, it's probably somewhere in the middle.
could lose their lives. And I think this letter makes it very clear, is that worth it? Is that worth the cost? And this is someone that's obviously gone to war on behalf of our country and seen the cost that it takes, not just on the people who are putting their lives on the line, but on the country. And so I think it is really important that not only is he putting this out today, but this is someone that is a deep figure within the MAGA base and someone that is aligned with the president and is breaking very publicly with him.
And it's personal for him, as you noted, Wolf, that his wife was killed in Syria in 2019 by an ISIS bomber. You know, I just want to go back to you, General. Clearly, you don't agree with this war. But at the same time, Israel is saying that it has taken out more top Iranian officials, including one who has been overseeing a lot of what Iran has been doing.
That's always worked historically for Israel, taking out all of the leadership. Yeah, I'm sure it'll work this time too.
And its counterattacks. And I just wonder if you see any progress, any benefit so far from this war in terms of safety
like,
toward
let's
the
not
United
keep
States
it so
because
negative,
of some
everybody.
of the people who have been taken out.
First of all, I commend the military performance thus far in the war. I mean, it's been superb. And look, no one's shedding any tears for the Khomeini's demise and a new Ayatollah. And
I don't even understand why not. Like, why do they hate him so much? You know, like he's done everything in his power to try to open up doors with the West, and we have just rejected him a million times, and then, you know, and then finally killed him. Like it's like if we just punch someone over and over and we're like, yeah, and everybody should obviously hate this guy as you just keep punching them over and over. It's like I don't really quite understand why we should hate him, to be honest.
And the aggressive nature that they have had towards in the region and been a threat in the region. I mean, I'm all for
Existence is not
doing
aggression.
something about the Iranians, but we were not provoked. And the problem here is
Israel does this shit all the time. They think that like a Muslim person existing is aggression or like anti-Semitic or whatever, and it scares them. It scares them to see a Muslim person. And so to Israel, Iran's existence is an aggression towards them. And that's why these freaks think the same thing. They think like, oh, Iran, like, because they exist and have some form of sovereignty, they are an aggressor in some sense, even though they never like they never would have attacked if we didn't attack. Like so like they even let their proxies get like, you know, get beat pretty bad without like joining in or attacking at all, like after, you know, October 7th with like the Gaza genocide that came after that and like what they did to Hezbollah. So like Iran has just always been the restrained actor in this region. It's always been Israel that's been the aggressor.
Is that we're in the middle of a long war, at least a long war for them. I mean, I remember what Henry Kissinger said about Vietnam. He said that, you know, the Americans will lose by not winning, and the Vietnamese will win by not losing.
Exactly.
The Iranians just want to sustain themselves, stay in power as long as they possibly can, continue to harass the United States, like attacking Baghdad and the embassy there and whatnot, and stay alive long enough so that they can claim victory. And that's what they will do if they do this long enough.
Let's go actually to the White House, where we're going to find our Kevin Liptak, who's been tracking any responses coming from the administration. What's the latest, Kevin?
Yeah, nothing official yet from the president, although we are expecting to see him any moment now in the Oval Office with the Taoiseach of Ireland. He's here for St. Patrick's Day. But you do hear, officials who are within...
Oh, yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day. All my Irish brothers and sisters out there. Keep the revolutionary spirit alive. Take over that Northern Ireland territory. Whoever owns that, I don't know. It should be your guess. Let's get another revolution going. Let's get another war going. Let's get some more conflict,
The Trump orbit beginning to sound off on this. One former White House official described Joe Kent as an egomaniac, someone who is resigning this position in quite a high-profile fashion. And I think that is probably along the lines of what we will hear from the president if and when he decides to respond to this. But I do think it will be difficult for him to entirely dismiss this resignation as someone, with Trump derangement syndrome, as someone who is a Trump enemy, as he does so often, just because Joe Kent has so often aligned himself with the president.
But he did this all to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was like the OG MAGA mom, Like, I don't think he cares. As soon as you cross him, you are out. You are no longer in the cult, and you are excommunicated. And if he decides to tar and feather you, every single other MAGA cult member is going to go along with it. So I'm not so sure. He'll probably say some shit about this guy.
MAGA wing of the party. That's how he ran as a candidate for Congress 2 times in Washington State, and it is why he was selected for this position in the first place. His confirmation was not an easy one by any means. He was, very narrowly confirmed by the Senate, and all of these questions about conspiracies around the 2020 election, about potential ties to white nationalists, all arose in his confirmation hearings, and for all of those reasons, I think it will be difficult for the president to sort of entirely distance himself from this individual who is now coming out very publicly decrying some of the perceived rationale for the war in Iran. And I do think it will also put in a very difficult position Joe Kent's boss, the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who has espoused, in previous lives, the very same positions about questioning the adventurism of previous iterations of the Republican Party, fake, questioning nation-building pursuits. She, too, was a veteran, just like Joe Kent. And so
she's one of those people who, said, actually, it's actually the right wing that is more anti-foreign war or whatever, which is the knots you have to twist yourself into to fucking believe that is insane to me. But yeah, fuck her, dude.
Putting her, I think, in a difficult position. But certainly we expect to hear from the president very soon, and hopefully he will be asked about all of this.
We'll see what he says. All right, Kevin Liptak, thank you very, very much. I want to bring in CNN K-File senior editor Andrew Kaczynski, who's joining us on the phone. Andrew, I know you had previously reported that...
I'm good. Okay, we learned about it. We learned about the dude. He, like I said, I don't think this is going to change much, to be honest. I don't think there's going to suddenly be some wave of resignations. I think he will just get excommunicated from MAGA in the same way Marjorie Taylor Greene was. And then, they'll just move on. At the end of the day, it's just whatever Trump says is the policy positions of the base or whatever. So, and he hasn't lost enough support in that regard to change anything. Okay. Well, speaking of our woke MAGA queen, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we're gonna listen. We're still gonna stick with the Clinton News Network. It looks like, was this the same person who we saw in the last video? It might be. Marjorie, she was ultra MAGA. I don't know what happened to her. Maybe one of those space lasers hit her. Maybe it was Havana syndrome. I don't know. But all of a sudden, she became just woke as fuck, right? Woke AF. There was nobody more woke than her all of a sudden, as evidenced by her going here to the incredibly woke Clinton News Network And so now that but unfortunately, as soon as she became woke, she was kind of excommunicated from the party, um, which, you know, is such a shame. She had so much more that she could have told us, so much more that she could have done for the woke cause. But you know what? She might be down, but she is not out because here she is on the Clinton News Network, CNN, MTG on Trump's Iran war. Why would an American president? Why would an American president do that? Sorry, my Marjorie Taylor Greene probably needs some work, but let's see what she has to say here.
Iran is now taunting President Trump for asking American allies for help in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign minister said of the U.S., quote, they carried out large-scale attacks and again repeated the demand for unconditional surrender. Today, they are turning to other countries for help. He also argued the Strait of Hormuz is, quote, only closed to our enemies. Joining us now to discuss this and more is former Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. Thanks for coming on, Congresswoman. So we all know
our beautiful woke queen.
You were a longtime loyal supporter of President Trump, but you broke with him in part because you felt he was too focused on foreign affairs rather than the America First promises he made on the campaign trail. As we enter day 17 of the Iran war, do you believe the president's voters can trust him?
Well, just to be clear, the president broke with me over the Epstein files. So that always has to be said. He called me a traitor because I stood with women who were raped when they were 14 and 16. But I do completely disagree where the president has led the country. You know what? It makes absolutely no sense, Pamela, going into midterm elections. Let's remove Donald Trump out of it. Let's just put any president in there. Why would an American president lead his political party into the midterms, waging a full-scale major war, completely unprovoked on Iran, on behalf of Israel? And that's the way most Americans see it. They see this is for Israel, not for America. Why would an American president do that, which is forcing gas prices to hike right here going into spring break, where families are going to be driving out of town, going into summer, declaring and waging a major full-scale war that seems to have no end in sight, that is not de-escalating. It's escalating every single day. And it just doesn't make sense. And the American people did not vote for this. This is not what
Is she gonna have a reason? I want to know why she thinks he's doing it, because like I know why I think he's doing it. I want to know why she thinks he's doing it.
Campaign for Pamela. I went to I can't even tell you countless rallies all over the country for President Trump, campaigning for him and Republicans because we wanted to win. And we said on every single rally stage, no more foreign wars, no more regime change. It's time to put America first. And this is a complete betrayal of those campaign promises.
So is that what you're hearing on the ground in Georgia, where obviously there are a lot of Trump supporters where you are? Are you hearing from them that they believe?
I heard the polling on that is that like 85% of the MAGA base or whatever is on board, which like usually it's like, I'm assuming by the MAGA base they mean like that, like, you know, it's hard to really define that, I guess, but like that 30% core at the center, like, of the Republican Party, like of their primary demographics or whatever.
Believe President Trump is doing this on behalf of Israel? Bring us there.
It's actually very split, and it's split along generational lines. Many of the older Americans from the baby boomer generation that watch Fox News all day long very much believe the talking points on Fox News, and they've spent decades of their lives convinced that fighting these wars is the right thing to do. But the younger generations, I'm Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z are very much against this war. And so when you talk to people on the ground, that's how it comes across. It's very generational, and the younger generations are completely against it. We want
Well, it seems like it's really just along the same lines of like who still fucks with Israel. The people who still fuck with Israel are, you know, those boomers who still live in that carefully contained, like carefully controlled media environment that not only is Fox News a part of, but also CNN and MSNBC, a very controlled flow of information generally provided by the State Department. So that's why they're all still on board. But younger people, at the very least, have more options and more personalized news feeds and can get different types of information that isn't necessarily strictly controlled by the State Department. So they're going to have like more varied opinions, and I think on average they will be able to find like they will how should I say that? It's like they'll be able to go against the State Department more, I guess, or they will occasionally come to conclusions that aren't perfectly in line with the State Department's goals or whatever, you know. Um, so I kind of think that's where it is probably, or that's probably why that's happening.
World peace. We want good trade. We want a great economy. We want to lower inflation, lower the cost of housing, and younger generations want to be able to afford their American lives, and they don't want their taxpayer dollars shipped off to, and you can fill in any foreign country. We'll take Israel out of it. They don't want their money sent overseas. And you know what? They're right for saying this. This is absolutely absurd, and it's 100.
It's at like $100 billion, I think. $100 billion is the estimate for what this war has cost the American taxpayer. Like at this point, like, do you realize what we could fund with $100 billion? Like, like that's like Medicare for all for like multiple years, I think, or free college tuition for everybody for like a decade or something. Like that's like crazy amounts of money. Or alternatively, just give me money. Give me that money. I don't know, evenly distribute that $100 billion amongst the population. Like, and like give me the money. I need the money. Please. My cat just had surgery. I need the money.
Percent a betrayal to what MAGA was supposed to be when we voted in 2024, and it's turned into some perverted, deranged version of MAGA now that nobody wants. And a lot of people are just like, this doesn't make sense. And I'll go further, Pamela. We love our military, and God bless the men and women serving, and we love their families, and we do not want to see.
Sorry, my woke queen. I'm sorry. I just gotta stop you there. This is that performative bullshit that I hate when it comes to our military service members. They don't give a shit. They don't. I'm sorry, they don't.
Flag draped coffins coming home in a war that does nothing for our own homeland. And then I wanna add on something else. How insulting is it to Americans that the GOP can't even fund?
So this is all like interesting to me because Marjorie Taylor Greene is a diehard Kool-Aid drinker of the MAGA movement. So she believed everything that was said about like what it was supposed to be and what it was supposed to represent. And to me, I think what they wanted to be was they wanted to be a fascist movement at home. Now they might not actively think that or whatever. Like I don't think in her head she's like analyzing the how they have organized their movement and like what historical parallels or like traditions it aligns with or whatever. But that's what they wanted. They wanted to have a fascist movement at home. So that's why they're on board with all the ICE stuff, on board with all the deportations. Like they're on board with like 95% of the Trump administration. But I do think that they think that this sort of like adventurism abroad largely does not it doesn't really matter to them. They would much rather accumulate as much power here at home than abroad. They would rather that $100 billion that I was just talking about go to ICE than say go to a war against a foreign country, because I don't think they really care about I don't think they care about some sort of like ideological global fascist movement that takes over the entire world. I think they just want to be able to like enforce their beliefs and control the population at home, if I had to guess. And again, all of these things are things that they don't actively think of it. Like 90%, like I don't know about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think there's a whole lot going up on here. I'm sorry. And so the only shit that's going on up here is like how do I do the worst pull up I possibly can at my next CrossFit competition or whatever. so they're not actively thinking this stuff, but this is what their movement like is built towards, if you know what I'm saying.
And homeland security right now, our own government that protects our own homeland while they're waging some war like 6,800 miles away in a country that none of us have ever been to against a foreign people that none of us know, killing.
A lot of our politicians have been to Israel, so you shut that mouth, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Killing many of these people, even to the point of killing their children. It's just absolutely absurd.
I want to follow up with you on what you just said. You said, you have been on stages, you campaigned for President Trump, and part of that was no more foreign wars. Vice President Vance has lambasted past administrations for sending American troops into conflicts without a clear mission. And even President Trump said that Vance himself expressed some reservations about the Iran war at first. Do you think this war hurts Vice President Vance's chances of becoming President Trump's successor in 2028?
The longer it goes on, it definitely does hurt J.D. Vance, and that's someone that I campaigned for aggressively. I was the first member of Congress to endorse him in the Senate, and I was one of the loudest voices in the room asking for him to be vice president, the vice presidential candidate. J.D. Vance and I are very aligned in our policy beliefs in America First, as well as Tulsi Gabbard and others in the administration. We all
Vance doesn't got it. I'm sorry. Vance is not going to make a good successor to Trump. It'll be somebody else. It'll be like Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or Kanye or something. Like it's not going to be Vance. It's going to be someone with like actual charisma, if I had to guess. They might try to push him on people, but I think that in general people are going to probably reject him, if I had to guess.
All see things very much the same way, but we're also the younger generation. And I can tell you, I won't speak for anyone, but there are people in the administration, high up in the administration, I know that don't support this, but the longer they stay silent, it hurts them. It definitely hurts them in the future.
I know you don't want to name names, but I mean, it raises the question whether you have spoken directly to the Vice President J.D. Vance and what your message is to those Republicans you've been speaking to who are in positions of power, who are not speaking publicly and staying silent in this moment.
Well, I'm not saying that I did speak with the vice president, and I'm not saying who I have spoken to or have not spoken to. I know where they're at on the issue, and I leave it up to them to come public with it. They know that their base, they know that the large majority of Americans, especially younger Americans, that's the future of America, are 1,000% against this. And, my parents are the baby boomer generation. There's so many good, peace-loving baby boomers that are against war, and God bless them for that. But the baby boomers in power, the ones clinging to power right now, it feels like they're literally wrecking the ship, that we're all on board, and that they're destroying our future. Like, when are we going to get social?
Okay, yeah, but they're doing this for a reason, right? They're all aligned on this for a reason, and it's because it benefits our pedo-billionaire overlords. And I don't know why they have such a hard time connecting it. Like, she even talked about Epstein at the very beginning of this. They should be connecting like how Epstein operated and like the goals of like global capital to this war as well. But they seem to be unable to do so. I mean, I assume just because they don't ever like touching the general concept of capitalism as being a bad thing or whatever. But yeah.
Security checks, we don't know. Are our children ever going to have any type of future like all of us did? It doesn't seem likely. And this war is going out of control, and it's really insulting to watch.
Hey, but if you don't have a future for your children, guess where they got to go? They got to go over to Iran. They got to go to war, baby. So yeah, maybe that's the plan all along. Make housing as unaffordable as possible, make, every time you break a bone, you have to pay like $200,000 to the hospital. Like, just make everybody as miserable as possible, and then they'll have to go fight a war for the great Nazi state of Israel.
America's position in the world, where the president just bullies and name calls and basically harasses foreign leaders all over the world and many of our allies, to the point now where he's calling them in to help open the strait so that these very important oil ships can get through. Many of them are not responding. And here Americans spent, trillions of dollars in our tax dollars defending all of our allies with military bases on these countries' homelands, protecting them, especially Europe and NATO, but yet they are not quick to respond. But I would argue it's because of the way the president has been treating them. And
I would argue that it's because they don't want their ships to get obliterated by Iran. Like, the same reason why we don't escort the ships through there is probably the same reason they don't want to escort the ships through there. I bet that if this was a slightly less risky situation, I bet they would have all come on board. But this one is just too obviously going to end in disaster that they're like, I think we're going to stick this one out. So
this is pushing America into a very serious situation that we should not be in. We should not be losing our relationships with countries all over the world. We should not be getting further and further ingrained into a very violent and dangerous, serious war with.
Having good relationships with countries is good as long as it's not to advance evil. And I think a lot of America's relationships with its allies is specifically designed to advance as much evil in the world as possible. So anyway, that was our former MAGA mom turned, woke super soldier, turned woke icon, I guess. That's probably better. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's going out there, she's engaging in espionage for the woke left, going into those Georgia communities, asking all the MAGA people what they think about this, and just going on to the woke Clinton News Network to just vomit all of that information back to the woke people to then use for their counterintelligence operations. So we appreciate our woke spy going in there and doing her thing, whatever that is. So I think that was kind of fun. Let's see. We'll watch a couple quick ones. Let's watch this one first. This is something that happened, I think, earlier, or maybe yesterday or something. I've never watched this Mirror Now network. I don't know who owns this. I don't know what kind of framing it'll have, if it even has any commentary at all. It doesn't seem like it does. So this might just be straight news. But anyway, this is about the USS Gerald R. Ford fire. 30-hour blaze, 600 sailors aboard. Know what caused the fire. Watch. But what a great title. We'll see. So I heard about this earlier today. I guess the ship that has been out on the ocean going back and forth between Latin America and the Middle East 3 times or whatever, with the same crew, I think, with no rest for them. I guess this ship, it might be working a little too hard, and I guess there was some sort of fire that broke out for 30 hours. So we'll see what this gives us. I hope that there's voiceover. If not, I'll just read the text. Doesn't sound like there will be. Okay. U.S. suffers massive damage amid the raging war in West Asia. This is like a fucking Hindustan Times the video, it seems like. A massive fire broke out aboard USS Gerald R. Ford air carrier. Reportedly, it took 30 hours to extinguish the blaze. Uh-oh. That's a lot of time. Fire left at least 600 sailors and crew members without their bunks. They're gonna be sleepy. Blaze reportedly started in the ship's main laundry facility. Uh-oh. They're gonna be both sleepy and stinky. That's not a good combo. Ask my cat. It later spread into vent of a dryer. Okay, I couldn't read that fast enough. The fire then spread through ventilation ducts. Into several other parts of the vessel. This music is like too ominous. I'm just gonna turn it down. The cause of the fire is still not known and an investigation was launched. I mean, if I had to guess, it's because this ship has been like literally at like doing its job for like way longer than it's supposed to without docking, if I had to assume. US CENTCOM has released a statement after the incident. It said that the fire did not cause any harm to the ship's propulsion plant. Hey, that's good. The statement added that the vessel remains fully functional. That's kind of not good. I'd rather everyone be safely evacuated and the ship to just kind of nosedive right into the bottom of the ocean and become a nice little habitat for all of the fishes down there. We have to do environmentalism, people. This ship is probably 100 years old. It wasn't going to last that much longer anyway, okay? So don't get mad at me. Meanwhile, 3 sailors were injured in the fire. Jesus Christ, dude. This is so funny. Sorry. I can't help but think of like that refueling like plane that like crashed and killed 5 people or whatever. And how they said like it wasn't friendly fire, but it also wasn't enemy fire. And I guess it was apparently just a gust of wind or whatever that took down that refueling plane. Like we are losing so many people and injuring so many people to accidents. It feels like so far it seems like Iran hasn't taken out a single person. It's only been us. Like we've only like our sheer incompetence that has done it. Now I know that they're probably lying. I know that Iran is probably responsible for like most of these issues. I don't know about this one per se. This one to me seems more like, you know, maybe it like, well, I don't know. I'm going to assume that they're telling the truth when they say there was a laundry fire that started. But 3 people being injured is a little bit suspicious to me. So, I don't know. 1 sailor was flown off the ship for further medical care. Like, I don't know. Maybe they got trapped or something. I just... I guess it could happen. It could happen. I don't know. It just feels our current administration, I have so little trust for them to tell us the truth that like I just kind of assume everything is a lie. And to be honest, I think I end up being right a lot more than I'm wrong by making that assumption. So reportedly, USS Gerald Ford hosts a crew of nearly 4,500 sailors and aviators. My tax dollars! How much are their salaries? Earlier, the vessel encountered a bizarre issue of sewage system failures. Oh, was this the poop plant, or was this the poop carrier? Was this the... Because didn't that happen where they weren't able to poop anymore because it was causing too much strain on the system? And so there was like poop overflowing and like running through the halls and shit. I think there was something like that earlier. So maybe this is that same thing. Man, this carrier cannot catch a break, man. The incident took place when the vessel was on its way to West Asia. Why was it going there? Onboard toilets were affected due to the ship's... Yeah, I already know about this stuff. That's what I just said. Come on, mirror now. The last known location of the USS Gerald R. Ford was the Red Sea. Okay, maybe it didn't go back to... the Latin America or whatever. I thought it went from like it was going back and forth, but maybe I'm wrong. It's now been deployed for around 10 months. Yeah, it should probably make a trip to a dock sometime and get some of this shit fixed. Reportedly, U.S. Navy officials have hinted that... ... Ominous music. Another carrier strikes group may soon relieve the Ford. Hey, it sounds like they've already relieved themselves, if you know what I'm saying, guys. Sorry. The vessel is on one of the longest post-Vietnam... ... deployments for an American aircraft carrier. Bringing it back to Vietnam. We love when our modern wars are compared to Vietnam, right, guys? We love it. It's our favorite thing. Okay, so I have to assume that Mirror Now is like a Hindustan Times type, like propaganda network or something. I am just curious. Mirror Now News. What is this? I'm really trying to figure out like where this is run from or like what country operates this, because this really gives me the vibe of like a propaganda channel, but maybe it's not. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe that's, maybe I gotta stop being so harsh. Okay, we're gonna do something sad real quick. Everybody get ready to cry. Um, I mean, it is very sad, but Cuba, ran out of oil, experiencing island-wide blackout amid energy crisis. We're gonna watch this video just so that we can talk about it a little bit. Um, I'm getting really fucking sick of countries not coming to help Cuba, especially when America is so bogged down with other shit. Um, that it's like I don't think that we have the capabilities to do anything to anybody else when we're so bogged down with Iran. So like people should at least be covertly sending oil to Cuba. And they're not, and it's pathetic, and I hate it. So anyway, let's see what this. I think this is live now from Fox. This is probably some like local news thing or something. I don't know for sure, but we'll see what it says.
Matter of foreign policy, Cuba is under new and intense pressures to make a deal with the United States as the island is facing one of its most severe economic crises in decades. Officials there are reporting also an island-wide blackout following a weekend that saw a rare and forcible protest. Fox News Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel has the latest from Cuba.
It's evil. It's evil what we are doing to them. It is just pure evil. Like, fuck us. I hate this. It's so sad. I hate it. They don't deserve
Cuba's
this.
power system has suffered a total collapse. Officials there report an island-wide...
They need to frame it right. They didn't suffer some, like, it's not some event that just magically happened to them. We enforced it on them. We did a siege-style blockade on their island like it's the fucking Middle Ages. Like, so it should be framed that way.
Blackout. The Energy Ministry suggests the country's electrical system is seeing, quote, total disconnection. Protests are growing in the island nation. Demonstrators venting anger about poor living conditions.
I don't know if I buy that shit. They say that every time. They said it about Iran. They say it about every country that we're trying to destabilize, that they're on the verge of an uprising. That's just classic like propaganda cope shit. We'll see if it happens. I don't know. I'm not going to say it 100% won't or anything, but like usually people can recognize who is the actual cause of the problem. It's like, and they don't, just inherently blame their government when it's so obviously, an external actor that is causing this to happen to them. So,
and in
I would guess that we probably have a lot of paid people in Cuba as well to start, trying to start shit. So,
city trashing the Communist Party's office, throwing rocks at the building, and some setting it on fire. President Trump sees this unrest as an opportunity.
I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good.
Fuck you.
A White House.
Fuck you. Jesus Christ, dude. Cuba, if you're listening to me, any of those people who are throwing rocks, if you're not CIA-backed spies, which I kind of assume that you are, but if you're not, please listen to me closely. You are never going to have freedom under, like, if America comes in and, like, at the hands of an American gun, okay? You are never going to have liberation. You are going to be a complete subservient, docile, like, caricature of your former self if you allow America to if you allow America to come in and just like destroy you. So like, come on, don't, you know, stay strong, and I hope that someone gets some oil to you.
Official tells Fox, quote, as the president stated, we are talking to Cuba, whose leaders should make a deal which he believes would be very easily made. The Cuban regime today extending an olive branch, saying that it is in fact open for business.
Cuba is open to having a fluid commercial relationship with U.S. companies, also with Cubans residing in the United States and their descendants. And this extends beyond the commercial sphere. It also applies to investments.
But the regime also took aim at the continued blockade of fuel as a roadblock for further cooperation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is leading the diplomatic effort and says the status quo in Cuba is unsustainable.
Cuba needs to change. It needs to change. And it doesn't have to change all at once. It doesn't have to change from one day to the next. Everyone is mature and realistic here.
Some congressional Democrats have introduced legislation aimed at blocking U.S. military action against...
It's a demon. I hate people who do this, like, to their homelands. I hate expats who do this shit to their like previous homelands, who just throw them all under the bus just so that they can accumulate power in America. It's so fucking sad. It's so pathetic. They all will one day burn in hell, and that's the only respite that I get from it.
Against Cuba without congressional approval, clearly worried that if there isn't change, the president may use force, as he did in Venezuela, to make it happen. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Fox News. Sorry, that's
and we
a
also
funny way
have
to say
this
that.
from the U.S. Embassy in Cuba talking about that blackout, saying that a nationwide blackout, including Havana, happened around 1:54 local time. A disconnection of the national electrical grid occurred, resulting in a total power outage that includes the metropolitan area of Havana. There is
Okay, this is just evil. Like, people are going to die. People already have died. You need electricity to have like modern medicine and shit. Like, you need electricity to help, like, for hospitals, for schools, for all this stuff. This is collective punishment. It's the same shit that Israel did to Gaza. Like I said before, the only hope that we have is, like Gaza, it won't work. That there will still be that we can only hope that there will still be I'm blanking on the word now. A sovereign Cuba after this. In the same way that there's still, I mean, I wouldn't say a sovereign Gaza, but there is like still, Hamas is still in control or whatever. So I think that there's always the direct like contradicting forces of the more you brutalize the people of a country, the less they're going to be willing to accept you as like quote unquote their liberator or whatever. So as we become more brutal, I think we'll hopefully see more rally around the flag stuff, but it should never have to come to that. I wish that Americans weren't so tuned out that they don't even, like, 90% of Americans don't even know that this is happening right now. Iran is really stealing the spotlight too as well, and China, get some oil over to Cuba. Like, seriously. But okay, that I wanted to watch that because I feel a necessity to remind people about Cuba, even though it always makes me sad when I do it. But let's watch another short one real quick. I don't know what this one is.
Today I'm signing
I don't know what this is. Apparently Trump's going to sign an executive order to increase home ownership. I don't know how he's going to do that. I don't know what these executive orders are. I'm sure that he's going to tell me right now. He looks very intent. He's staring into my eyes, and like I can just tell he's going to tell me what's going to happen. Maybe he's just going to give like every millennial a house. Maybe that's what's going to happen, But let's see what he has to say. This is breaking news. President Trump announces new executive orders to increase home ownership.
Today I'm signing 2 historic executive orders continuing my administration's efforts to help more of our citizens achieve the dream of home ownership. It's called the American Dream. Thanks to our purchase of $200 billion in mortgage bonds, mortgage rates recently reached the lowest level in 5 years. This dramatically reduces monthly payments for new home buyers. The annual cost of the
Sorry, I missed it. I was only half paying attention.
Recently reached the lowest level in 5 years. This dramatically reduces monthly payments for new home buyers. The annual cost of the typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 since I took office. I'm very proud of that. I also
$5,000 on a average home price of 400,000 is still, like minuscule.
Signed an executive order to stop Wall Street and large institutional investment firms from buying up all the single-family homes in the scheme to turn them into rentals and make lots of money in doing it.
Hell yeah.
We want America to be a nation.
Wait, so did he actually sign that? Did he actually ban institutional investors from buying single-family homes or whatever? Because that is a pretty big deal if he actually did that. Now, knowing Trump, there's going to be some fine print here because we don't want them real estate investors getting too mad at us, right? That's what probably Trump's saying. So I bet there's some fine print here that it's not going to make that much of a difference. But if he really is banning institutional investors to owning a home or to using homes as an asset or whatever, especially single family homes, that would be pretty badass. I would be very proud of my beautiful president. I would unironically for once call him my big beautiful boy.
Of owners, not renters. Today I'm taking action to help reduce rates even more and make it much easier to build new homes in America. The first executive order is about bringing more community banks back into the mortgage business. 2 decades ago, over 5,000 community banks were offering mortgages. Today, that number has been slashed by more than 50%, largely because of burdensome, unnecessary regulations.
I don't know what difference that'll make, dude.
That radical liberals imposed on community lenders for the benefit of their donors on Wall Street and, frankly, for the benefit of themselves. The result was less competition and higher mortgage rates for hardworking Americans like you. That is why, under my order, we will eliminate the thicket of unnecessary rules and restrictions that crippled community banks. They've been hurt so bad.
Okay, this is deregulating the banking industry, which, as far as I know, has never had any problems before, right? Deregulating banking, and particularly surrounding mortgages, right? Nothing terrible has ever happened from doing that, right? Am I right? What?
Sadly, we're bringing them back. When more local banks start offering mortgages again, fees will go down, costs will fall, and home buyers will be able to get a mortgage under the more affordable terms that we're insisting on. The second executive order I'm signing today will help lower construction costs for building new homes so that home builders can offer.
Okay, I don't know. Hopefully there's another executive order because, okay, building homes, sure, good, go for it, do it. It'll bring the price down slightly. But what will significantly bring down the price was that first thing he said, banning institutional investors. Because if you say, let's say you limit the amount of homes anybody can own to, I don't know, you could put it at 5, okay? That gives every person one house, one vacation home if they ever make it or whatever, because I know our peasant-brained, freaks out in the suburbs always think that one day they're going to have their own vacation home or whatever. And then even after that, you get 3 more. If you just limited it to the most houses any individual or any corporation can own at 5, that would literally overnight increase the supply of houses 20-fold or whatever, or 100-fold. It would be significant. And yes, it would probably drop the housing market like a fucking rock. The prices of homes would, the bubble would burst, the prices of homes would go down significantly, and you might need a way to make people, the people that you're not necessarily trying to target, like people who own a single home or whatever, you might need to find a way to make them whole, in some sense. But building is is gonna do a minuscule amount compared to actually banning institutional investors.
Americans more affordable, options. I'm going to sign them right now.
And it sounds like that's it. Oh, get out that Sharpie, Donald. The only guy, man, the only guy I know that signs with a Sharpie. Maybe, do other people do that now? Is that a thing now? Like, our future president's going to use a Sharpie?
No auto pen. Okay? That's my
Got him. Fuck you, Biden.
real signatures, not an auto pen like you had in the past.
Yeah, totally. Okay. The first one I was not a fan of. Executive Order number 1, deregulating the banking industry specifically around mortgages. I don't think that's going to have very good consequences. I lived through 2008. I wasn't, obviously I wasn't like a homeowner trying to buy anything back then or whatever, but like I wasn't like working back then. I was still pretty young, but so I don't really see that as being a good long-term solution. The second one I'm all for. You can build as much as you want. Again, as long as you're not like decreasing safety standards or whatever to get this shit through or whatever. But there's a reason though. There's a reason that he backed off of his initial pledge of banning institutional investors. It's because the real estate lobby came to him and said, you're not going to do that. And he said, okay. He said, yes, sir, I won't do it. Everybody was on board for it. All of his MAGA people, all of the base, all of the, even I'm assuming like maybe even the most libbed up people would probably be on board for a Donald Trump executive order that said like we're going to ban institutional investors or whatever. But yeah, there was no way that he was ever going to do that because it would just like you would literally be taking away so much profits from the real estate industry.
As part of the Green New Scam, the Biden administration and many state and local governments added endless, ridiculous regulations that raised construction costs very, very substantially. With my order today, we will slash many of these pointless regulations that do nothing for safety and add lots of...
This is just fucking abundance shit, dude. And also this, like... Yes, obviously, I'm sure there are some regulations that don't like necessarily need to exist, but I'm more worried that like this is just going to lead to like shittier development and like people making shittier houses. And the real solution is the first one he said, which he's never going to do because it would, be too much of a blow to the real estate industry. So, okay, I gotta go use the bathroom. I will be right back. I'll let our big beautiful boy keep talking to you for a second though. I'm gonna put him back a little though so it doesn't play to the next video.
No auto pen. Okay? That's my real signature. It's not an auto pen like you had in the past. As part of the Green New Scam, the Biden administration and many state and local governments added endless, ridiculous regulations that raised construction costs very, very substantially. With my order today, we will slash many of these pointless regulations that do nothing for safety and add lots of costs. It's really unfair to the home buyers, and ultimately, they're the ones paying for this disaster. Under the Trump administration, we want to make it possible for every American to live that American dream in a beautiful home. And it's really the one that they pick. It's going to be the apple of their eye. So I just want to thank everybody. Our country is doing really well. It's being thought of all over the world with great respect again, more than maybe it's ever had. Thank you very much. Have a good time.
Have a good time. I will, Donald. I will. Don't you worry. I'm always having a good time, except for that last story before this one. That one made me really sad. Okay, let's see here. Ooh, let's watch some cope. Let's watch some liberal cope.
In everything that he tried.
Okay. I love a good liberal cope, okay? People should know this about me. Liberal cope, it shoot it through my veins. Look, I like to cope as much as the next guy, okay? I sometimes watch videos or read articles that make me feel really good. Usually they're about the impending collapse of the American empire. But I always keep in the back of my head, or recently another one, that Netanyahu is dead or whatever, right? Like, uh, sometimes I think it's fun to play make believe a little bit, and I'm not the only one that does it. These libs, they like to play make believe all the time, okay? Um, which I guess is kind of what they're going to be doing here anyway. But I don't really see anything wrong with doing a little cope every once in a while. Sometimes it helps you get through the day or whatever. But I do think that you should always keep in mind when something sounds too good to be true or whatever, like Trump is dead or he's going to die tomorrow or whatever, like to just always kind of never get your hopes up too much or whatever. But anyway, this is going to be James Carville. The old ass, I think, Democratic strategist or something, if I remember correctly. I think he is just notoriously wrong all the time, like about every strategy ever, if I remember correctly. I think he was a big Hillary guy. I think he was a big like shut the fuck up about Biden guy, like Biden's not senile guy, which maybe maybe he caught a little bit of what Biden was having. I don't really know. He looks like 107 here. So let's see what James Carville has to say. Trump will be gone sooner than you think! Exclamation point. Let's go.
Ice blows up in his face. And I'm telling you, I think he's just going to quit next year about this time. I think he's just going to fucking walk away because the Democrats control the House and the Senate. No one's going to pay attention to him. The fiscal condition of the country is beyond in the ditch.
I don't think he's gonna walk. What? Why would he do that? Why would he do that? I don't understand.
The Iran thing has turned into just a catastrophe of the first order.
I don't think he cares.
A little bit more of a serious topic here today. We've talked about Trump derangement syndrome. We've had electoral fantasies and things like that. And I generally believe the way to deal with Trump is through humor and vulgarity and things like that, because you got to fight at his level. But I want to talk.
That's what people always say about me, about that I am a very humorous, vulgar person.
Something a little serious here today. First of all, we talked about it 3 or 4 days ago, war profiteering, and we talked about my personal heroes, and should be one of your personal heroes, General Smedley Butler, who said war is a racket. Some wars are just war, some wars not so just, some wars this, some wars that. This is clearly a racket war. And people are making a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
They always do.
And this has a long history in our country, a long history around the world. I always say, if the first profession was
well, primarily in our country, though. If you look at the amount of wars that other people have started compared to the amount of wars that America has started, like, you know, I mean, I think we're pretty high up there.
Prostitution,
yeah.
The second profession was
what?
War.
Wait, what?
In our country, a long history around the world. I always say, if the first profession was prostitution, the second profession was war, and right after somebody thought of war, they thought of war profiteering. But it's stunning what's going on right in front of our eyes. It's stunning that members of the Trump family are notoriously getting contracts, see drone contracts, or pitching the government for contracts. The level, we don't know. We don't know what the dealings that Jared Kushner has in the Middle East. We have a pretty good idea. And I think
I worry that he's leaning a little too hard into these like individual acts of corruption or whatever, as opposed to the entire industry is set up to make profit off of like killing like brown people over there, you know, like that's like basically our entire economy at this point. So like we have created this system. Like our government and the way it behaves is a reflection of us, the people who allow it to happen. And so, like, James Carville, I'm sorry to say, I don't think you're innocent in this either. Neither am I. I'm allowing it to happen to an extent too.
Part of the Democratic messaging has to be, we're going to have a commission to thoroughly examine war profiteering and those that have unjustly profited off war, unjustly. Some people are going to, they have to have fuel in airplanes. Can't blame somebody for.
Okay, yeah, you can. That's unjust as well. Nobody should be profiting. I don't care if you're an owner of like a Raytheon stock or like what. Like, in fact, none of these industries, these war profiteering, like, there should be no such thing. It should be illegal for anyone to make a single dollar off of war. Okay? Like it should be like every single like it should be entirely state owned, entirely state run, and done through taxes only. Like that should be uh it should literally be illegal for anybody to make a profit off of a bomb, oil like jet fuel going out into the like out to our jets or whatever. Like we should not allow anybody to make a single dime off of that. That's immoral. That is an immoral system to allow to take place.
Selling fuel, putting an airplane, they have to have a certain amount of materials and ammunition and food and all the other things that happen. But
have you ever considered organizing your modes of production in such a way that it doesn't require pedobillionaires to accumulate ultra mega super profits? In order to go fight their wars to gain even more profits or whatever and go blow up children abroad. Have you ever considered changing your mode of production just a little bit, James
Carville?
Talking
about something way beyond that. Way beyond that.
No. It is not way beyond it. Your idea of these little individual acts of corruption are nothing. They are literally nothing compared to the evil and immorality that is our entire industry that is set up to profit off of the murder of brown people. Like, seriously, like that, it is industrialized. It is the difference between industrialized violence versus an individual act of violence. When someone goes out and kills somebody, that is bad. That is evil, okay? But when like say Hitler rounds up an entire group of people and then industrially slaughters them, or when a bunch of white people buy a bunch of brown people and then industrially use them as a system of creating profit for them, that is entirely like 1 million times more evil. So he has this backwards. He thinks that it's more evil for them to engage in individual acts of corruption, where no, it's the other way around. It is way more evil to have a system and a society that profits off of the death of children abroad or whatever. Like, he needs to reverse this logic in his head.
You, my dear people, are owed
He's probably a little too
an
old for that.
explanation, and you're also owed accounting, and you're also owed clawbacks. That's just a word I hear all the time. It means whatever they show the public gets it back. Now, there's some specific things that are going on. First, his story, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, but
I'm gonna speed him up a little. Sorry, everybody, if he just talks too slow.
It's been in more than one place, so I'm not going to burden your citations. That there has been an unbelievable windfall for oil companies. The figure I remember is 63 billion, but that's going to end up being lowballing when you get through with the whole thing. Suppose that we levied an excess all company profit tax. Yeah, excess all company profit tax.
I'm all for it.
You're sitting there and oil is, I don't know, let's just.
I think, hey, James Carville, this is going to blow your mind. There's already something called that. It's called a windfall tax. We don't do it, though. And we should do it for every industry, not just oil. But,
$70 a barrel. And because of this, I don't want to call it Trump, this buffoon, I'm trying to be nice to you, man, this idiot, this moron.
So nice. That's the nicest thing I've ever heard.
I don't know, sack of shit president we got.
so
if oil
nice.
all goes to $100 a barrel, obviously, all companies are going to make more money out of it. I think the profits are. And I think that there should be an assessment at the end of this, or maybe even during this, as to what exactly are the excess profits. I think this should be taxed at a rate of, maybe off the top of my head, 75%, but can negotiate to 70. Maybe someone might negotiate to 80%. And that money, if it's a device to return it to American consumers, maybe on a rebate on the payroll tax, which probably good, everybody can't do that. You could do any number of things. But the point is, you just don't get to sit there. And there's also stories that the Venezuela incursion was kind of idea from some former Chevron people. You have to check that out. But I think we got to get to the bottom of this, who is promoting this, who's making money on it, who has windfall profits. And
There
we
it
got to
is.
tell
He
the
does
American
know it.
public, because what we're going to find out, is going to knock you on your ass. Okay, the amount of money is being made off of this. And now, I generally don't recommend things for you to look at, but the Bulwark, which I'm a big favor of, has an article by a guy named Jonathan V. Last that talks about how
The
the dollar
Bulwark is the Bulwark is not my favorite. Not my favorite channel. Not my favorite article printing machine. It's very much a it's like the counterpart to like if I had to equate it to something like Midas Touch or like Brian Tyler Cohen or whatever, except like the like kind of right wing version of it. So, or like the Republican coded version of Trump bad, essentially, which is kind of how I feel like, whereas like Midas Touch or like Brian Tyler Cohen are like the liberal coded version of Trump bad. Um, I just think their opinions are so vapid and pointless, that like I lose brain cells every single time I try to watch them.
the petrodollar, based on a dollar, is been the currency of the world since the 1973 crisis. You don't
Okay,
want
sorry. This is more boring than I was expecting it to be. And I guess I should have expected. He is like 112. I'm sorry. The Crypt Keeper here. Yeah, there was one thing that I think, it was a good discussion to have, is that individual acts of violence or like individual acts of corruption are nothing compared to the industrial scale corruption that is our entire military industrial complex. So at least we got one good thing out of that. Um, okay. Let's see. What should I watch now? I mean, we're gonna go to I think we're gonna go to a fun video. Or maybe a fun video. I don't know. We'll see. Um, this is our good friend of American Redact. He's got that, that dollar bill on his profile picture with the eyes redacted, makes sense. Actually, I literally just put his name and profile picture together in my head when I said redacted, and now I completely understand. Great concept, great thumbnail picture you got there, whatever, um, or profile picture you got. But anyway, so we're going to check in with our friends over in the Rogansphere, or the loosely associated Rogansphere. This is about, I guess, Andrew Schultz and Theo Von. Um, Andrew Schultz is like, well, this also, okay. I don't really. I think that he's a charlatan. I think Theo Von's a charlatan. I don't really think they have any actual morals or or like things that they truly believe. I think they just kind of go with the flow, go with the vibes of the moment. So if the vibes are good, they'll be good. If the vibes are bad, they'll be bad. That's kind of my opinion on them. But let's see what American Redact has to say, because it turns out everybody is turning on Andrew Schultz and Theo Von. Let's see why.
Or Theo Von will do one video where he's crying because he feels bad for Palestinian kids, and then has on J.D. Vance and doesn't bring it up once. Like, you are lying to your audience. I didn't like Andrew Schultz having Trump on the pod because I go, well, you're not gonna talk to him about Epstein. You're not gonna talk to him about this thing.
He is horrible. He is.
I wanted to watch this actually. This was oh fuck, what is this guy? What is his channel called? I've watched him before with like Emma Vigeland and that dude from Chapo. Doom Scroll, is that what it is? I think I like his interview style. I think he's a really fun interviewer, to be honest. And John Marco Scorsese or whatever, I only know him from like sometime, like I think he went on Stavi's podcast once. I think he's like a comedian. a vaguely left aligned comedian if I had to guess. But yeah, let's
Terrible
keep watching.
interviewer, and his political takes are garbage.
All right, so it looks like the comedian John Marco Sorese just declared war on
Scorsese is what I said. Dude, I'm so bad at names.
Theo Von and Andrew Schultz, as he just called them both out by name in this new podcast appearance he just did on the Doomscroll channel. Because looking back on it, I think it's pretty clear that their shift into politics has been...
I got Doomscrolled right, okay? I got that name right, so shut the fuck up, everybody.
A complete joke. Especially now that they've both flip-flopped on Trump after helping him get elected. But if you don't know who John Marco even is yet, basically he's a pretty big comedian coming out of New York right now that intertwines his political beliefs with his comedy. And he's done a bunch of podcast episodes with Stavros Halkias criticizing this new wave of anti-woke comedy that's rising in places like Austin, Texas, and even a little bit in New York. Because John Marco's afraid of turning his act on stage into the left-wing version of that very hack, pandering sort of comedy, where the punchline is just announcing that you're on the audience's side in politics. Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe, for example, do this a lot. And guys like John Marco think that that shouldn't even qualify as comedy. So these sorts of Joe Rogan guys are essentially the right-wing versions of what John Marco Sorese is terrified of becoming. And he's talked about this topic a lot in the past, but before this interview, he's never really called out anyone
that's good for him. I bet it is hard. I bet it's hard not to just kind of become completely aligned with if you do vaguely political stuff or whatever in your comedy, I'm sure that it is hard not to just start doing the same shit, but from like a woke perspective of like getting the applause line for saying something like woke essentially or whatever. So like I do think like, yeah, you should have good politics, and if you want to, go for it. Incorporate your politics into your comedy. But I do think that you should always try to remember the North Star of like, you're trying to be funny. Like you gotta, you can't just be looking for applause breaks or whatever, because then it just becomes a TED talk and it's like boring,
Directly. Because now that we're at war with Iran for seemingly no other reason than to protect Israel, and American soldiers are dying because of that, John Marco has a new burning resentment for his comedy peers who gave these politicians a hot stone massage on their podcasts for an hour straight. So he really grills Andrew Schultz here for just that.
If I'm going to bring up people who have legislative power, I have a new responsibility, and that's holding them to account, or else I'm just promoting them. I'm just helping
you got to do
propaganda.
A lot of research. You have
and
to
I don't want to
ask
do
a
that
hard
research.
Question.
I don't want that to be that. I didn't like Andrew Schultz having Trump on the pod because I go, well, you're not gonna talk to him about Epstein. You're not gonna talk to him about this thing.
He is horrible. He is a terrible interviewer, and his political takes are garbage. So yes, his platform will just be utilized.
But that's why people are allergic to platform. It'd be fine. I mean, this is why I go like I need to step away. Yeah, this is why. Yeah, of course,
literal fucking Mossad agents in the background.
And that's why it is tough. Where it's like, if you're gonna, that's why I go, I want to stay away from politicians, because I can have someone on who I disagree with politically if I can go to their face. If I can't go to their face, fuck you.
And the best part,
I'll have, if there's any politicians out there who want to be on Technically Clay, I will have you on, okay? I will talk to you. If I get big enough, people, I need you to make this happen, okay? If I get big enough and I can have Cory Bush on as a local politician from my area, that would be a dream goal of mine. But granted, I am a political commentator, and I think that I would, ask real questions or whatever of our politicians, as opposed to like those guys who are just doing it for like clout purposes or whatever, which I do think is immoral, but like, I don't really, I guess I don't necessarily care as much though, because I don't really think that it necessarily maybe it changed some people's minds or changed some people's, like, I don't know. I'm a little conflicted on that, on how important I think that is. I do think it is immoral. I just don't know how bad I would say it is. Like, to have someone who is obviously going to become a fascist, or like is already has the proclivities towards fascism, on your podcast, and not push back on them at all and just claim ignorance or whatever. I'm sure that there were plenty of people who did that, like for, like in a different time with different technology, for like people like Hitler, or for, Mussolini or whatever, as they rose to power. So to some extent, I do see like some culpability there. But I also just think a lot of these things are superstructures that happen outside of the realms of individual actions and are like inherent or like are gonna kind of happen regardless. So anyway, I don't know. Kind of mixed feelings on
Part
that.
about this call out was that Gianmarco Ceresi actually considered Andrew Schultz as a friend for most of his career. So by calling him out here by name, he is intentionally squashing that. Like he just doesn't want anything to do with the guy anymore. And a part of that might be because Andrew Schultz and Akash Singh, RIP, actually had some choice words to say about Ceresi back when they finished the Riyadh Comedy Festival gig. Because I guess they didn't really like that Gianmarco called them out for selling their integrity to the Saudi Arabian regime. So they threw some low blows at him for speaking out about that, saying that Gianmarco performs for the rich white people in Bushwick, New York, and has no idea what it's like to perform for minorities, which is just hilarious when you consider that the
Okay. I don't think that you should be talking about all of the monarchist like goons and the, Saudi Arabian like government or whatever as as minorities. Like they're not oppressed people of any kind. Like that's silly.
crowd in attendance at the
Although I will say I do think that John Marco's vibes or whatever are like liberal wine mom. Like I think that is the vibe that I get from him. Like my mom would love this guy. She would love how he looks, she would love how he talks, she would love how he's like slightly effeminate. Like I think that like he is very like lib coded or whatever. That doesn't necessarily like mean that he's gonna be like a bad comic or anything or whatever. I've never really watched like a full set from him or anything.
idea
But
what it's like to perform for minorities, which is just hilarious when you consider that the crowd in attendance at the Riyadh Festival were all elite members of the upper crust of the Saudi Arabian society.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
disappointing. I mean, if there's one comedian.
Oh, and also I gotta say this. Fuck everybody who went to the Riyadh Comedy Festival, and not for the reasons that a lot of people say. A lot of Americans go out, like, go and complain about how Saudi Arabia is like, a dictatorship and their human rights abuses and all that, which is all true. It is all true, and the same as it is for like most of the Gulf state countries or whatever, where there's like a very heavy like wealth concentration at the top, power concentration at the top, and not that much for the people or whatever. But the main reason that I fucking hate Saudi Arabia and most of the Gulf states is because they are out there to essentially align with America and Israel and their goals in the region. The Riyadh Comedy Festival and all of the sports stuff that Saudi Arabia does, all of the gaming stuff that Saudi Arabia does, is all an effort to accumulate like power essentially for themselves as a country, but they will also align with Israel to accumulate that power as well, and align with the West to accumulate that power. And all of them are kind of like on the same team when it comes to allowing Israel to commit as many atrocities as possible for the Palestinian people. There are very few governments in the Middle East that are independent enough of the United States and Israel to actually be considered like bulwarks against that sort of like genocidal hegemony or whatever. So that's why I fucking hate them, is because I see Saudi Arabia as a complicit actor in the genocide against the Palestinian people and the Lebanese people.
Comedian I've always admired, it is Andrew Schultz. And I gotta say, this feels like a surprising lack of character in this moment.
Of like the local politics of how
that's the thing when these fucking comics are like trying to be self-aware when they're shitting on us. They're like, just for the record, we didn't get an invite to the Riyadh.
We know you didn't. You can't perform outside of Brooklyn.
Exactly. Like,
you do musical theater crowd work.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, your comedy isn't good. Why would they want you?
Look at that audience of yours. I bet I can count the minorities on one hand.
What a sacrifice to not go to the festival you weren't invited to.
Yeah, they don't know you exist. It's not because you're a problem. It's not because you speak truth to power.
Yeah.
It's because you speak truth to upper middle class white people and 10 minorities who want to fuck upper middle class white people.
Just pat yourselves on the back.
Yeah.
So it was honestly pretty satisfying to hear Gianmarco and the host of the Doomscroll podcast tearing into Schultz, because it was all completely accurate. And now that the flagrant guys are realizing how dumb it was to go,
well, that's why I say he's like a fucking, like, first of all, that's like mean-spirited. Also, that's just, you're just trying to project away from the fact that you did something bad. You did something wrong morally. And so you just go, no, you, no, you, no, you, or whatever. So I don't know. I've never been a big fan of this
So
dude.
unprepared like that into that podcast with Trump and are now criticizing everything about him. This is all looking like a recipe for disaster over there. Because now both sides of their audience have sort of turned against them. And as a result of that, most of their podcasts are getting around the same amount of downvotes as upvotes. So between that and the whole disappearance...
Hey. I know how that feels, okay? We don't have to go too hard on the people who get the same amount of downvotes as upvotes. Sometimes it means you're just being a brave truth teller, okay? Sometimes it actually does mean that, and particularly when it's in my case, okay?
of Akash Singh, they are falling pretty fast. I talked about more of that on Patreon recently, though, so make sure to go subscribe.
That Rife, dude. Nobody has been more lesbian coded than this dude. Like, look at him. How do you, like, are we sure that he hasn't transitioned? Like, I'm serious. Are we sure he hasn't transitioned? Look at this guy. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I could not tell the difference between him and like Rachel Maddow. Like, if you put them right next to each other.
Check that out if you haven't already. But anyways, after dumping on Andrew Schultz, they actually shifted focus to Theo Von, and what they had to say about him was pretty brutal. Because at one point in time, it seemed like Theo Von was the Trump administration's official jester. Like he literally was having dinner dates with Jared Kushner at one point, who's the exact same guy that convinced Trump to go to war with Iran, which even Trump has admitted to. So Theo rubbed elbows.
I think Theo's even more of a charlatan than that other guy, Schultz or whatever. I think that he really hides his, like, I don't know if he has any actual political beliefs or anything, but I think that, and I also think he kind of like goes out on a limb more in terms of like saying the things that he thinks are gonna be popular for him to say or whatever. That but I just don't really think he really I really think all he wants is more views like all the time, and that's like what guides everything that he does.
With the people that started the war multiple times, and also handed Trump his massive platform before the election, which effectively swayed a large portion of his very impressionable audience. But all the Theo Von fanboys just give him a pass, I guess, because they really...
It also looks so... I always thought he looked so manicured to be this, like, to have this, like, Joe Dirt kind of look that just, like, I don't know, really gives me fake vibes. Like,
I think he's this gullible hillbilly that just says random things still, which has been his shtick for years now, and it's pretty easy to see through at this point. Thiel's also had a bunch of people in the Epstein files on his podcast, along with all the administration puppets just
hey,
like...
I watched a video that Neil deGrasse Tyson did about war the other day. Go check it out. I thought it was pretty insightful.
Joe Rogan did, and yet no one really gives him any flack for it. So this was pretty satisfying to hear John Marcos Herrezi bring attention to.
I literally think it's like, I don't want politicians. We once had a wrestler on, like a professional wrestler, and I don't think he fully understood, because at the beginning he was doing the interview like in his character, and I was like, well, there's a shallowness here that we're not doing the podcast, and I very stuck to my guns of like gradually got to be like, I'm not talking to this character. I need to have a conversation with you.
Okay.
That's what talking to a politician is, and they're not dropping that character.
Yeah.
And some of them are good at it.
No, they don't. They don't.
Some of them are good at it, and I think when JD Vance comes on Theo Von's podcast, like, they're good at presenting what seems like a real conversation between two human beings. And I think I go to Theo Von, I go, fuck you, why are you providing that to this person who's not telling you the whole truth? We know that based on, him calling Trump Hitler in 20 whatever, and now he's this, or Theo Von will do one video where he's crying because he feels bad for Palestinian kids, and then has on JD Vance and doesn't bring it up once. Like, you are lying to your audience. And I don't want to lie to my audience. I don't want to lie to myself. I don't want to have politicians. I honestly don't want to know politicians too well that I would be scared to criticize them.
So it's just pretty nice to hear the two-faced nature of Theo Von.
Look, you can know politicians as individuals, but never, like, you have to keep those two things separate, right? Like, they are in a separate category as a politician versus as like as an individual. So like, let's say that I was like best friends with Zoran Mamdani, okay, in some hypothetical world or whatever. I could interact with him as just a human to human sort of person or whatever, but I could also interact with him through, like, say my channel as like a politician that I'm trying to get concessions from or whatever. Those two things, like, you should never conflate those two things. That's why I always hated the whole, like, who could I have a beer with or whatever. That's not what politics is about. They're not supposed to be your friends. They're supposed to be people that you get concessions from like in order to build power and like change the world for good. Like that's what they're there for.
On being called out here. Because sure, it's great that he stuck up for
And
Palestine and whatnot.
these people really seem to do that a lot. Like they really conflate the idea of like if they're cool to hang out with or whatever, then they're going to be a good politician. It feels like that's what they think.
But then to turn around and have dinner with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner is just so backwards. And honestly, it's just a big fat slap in the face to everyone who supports him. But anyways, John Marcos Herrezi then goes on to talk about the glaring failure of anti-woke stand-up comedy these days, because it really sets a low standard for comics trying to involve politics in their comedy. Like guys like Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe are just approaching the entire thing wrong. Because as I've stated numerous times on this channel in the past, when they make the entire punchlines of their jokes just some conservative buzzword, it's really not even comedy. And John Marco breaks this down pretty well here, because if he's not careful, he could easily turn into one of these hacks just as fast.
Yeah, it's a TED Talk. It becomes a TED Talk. If you're just trying to get applause lines for like reactionaries who want to clap it like because I think the same thing as he think, like then yeah, that's just a TED Talk. And same thing if you're a liberal who just says like and that's why I support women or whatever, right? Like then it just becomes like a TED Talk and it's no longer a comedy. Now, that way doing it from the left or whatever is less offensive because like it's not reactionary and it's not racist and it's not like, it's not inflicting, the ideas that it represents aren't going to cause like harm to somebody or whatever. So it is different, but like again, it does like you are no longer a comedian if that's what you're going for.
As there's pandering comedians on both the right and the left who do this. So John Marco is highly cautious about this very thing.
Like, do you feel like there's a kind of responsibility now thrust upon you by you were outspoken about a few issues maybe a year ago that accumulated a whole new audience that maybe wasn't familiar with your work before?
Yeah, people, there were times people, I hope you were going to joke more about Israel. And I was like, I don't have a joke about it. My challenge is more like, okay, if I have an audience that agrees with me on a bunch of things, how do I write jokes that make them go, like, because I like that. That's what I want my comedy to be. I don't want it to be pandering.
I was going to ask you about some of that.
If they applaud on the setup of a line, that's fine. Like, if the setup to a joke, they applaud. Like, for me, I think you see my belief. You can see my beliefs in the setup. That's fine. I don't want the punchline to be an emphasis of my beliefs because then that's pandering. Then I'm asking for applause or approval because you agree with me. If anything, I want
that seems a little
you
arbitrary.
to trust my heart. I don't know. I don't care really. But I want the joke to be funny even if you disagreed with me. Now, the setup is going to reveal
Yeah, okay. Well, so I don't think you should shy away from things like Israel or Palestine or whatever for comedy. You just got to be careful and make sure that it's good and make sure that it is funny. And yeah, make sure that it's not purely about the, I think what he just said there is a pretty good thing that like even someone who disagrees with you could like see themselves laughing at it or whatever. Like I think that that's like a potentially a good way to kind of think about if you're going too far into like the TED Talk territory.
What I am. The setup's going to be, I'm a trans ally. The punchline cannot be, I'm a trans ally, because that's pandering. The punchline should be, I'm a trans ally for the most insane, funny reason you've ever heard, and you understand that's a joke.
Sure.
And that's the challenge for me, as opposed to a responsibility. I think my responsibility is I want to be funny still.
But you see, while there is a lot of hackish pandering comedy on both the left and the right nowadays, it just seems to be happening more on the right. Because a lot of comics flock to Joe Rogan's Mothership and other right-wing hubs as a result of not making it in the mainstream.
Well, but also our country is much more aligned with like that, right? Our country is very reactionary. By and large, most people in our country want to be able to say slurs and stuff. Like, and it's just because they don't have like really what it stems from is they don't feel like they have any actual power, any political power, any power in their workplace, any power to control their lives at all. And so the only power that reactionaries feel is when they can influence another person negatively, right? And then it's the same like power that a troll feels or whatever. And so that's kind of why these people like have such a wide audience or whatever, especially in America in particular.
I mean, Tony Hinchcliffe himself tried and failed to make it in Hollywood for a very long time, as I touched on in a recent video. And if he would have made it in Hollywood, he certainly wouldn't be this right-winged monster that he is now. So the right-wing grift is sort of the last resort for a lot of these failed comics careers. So it's just like a magnet.
Well, it's the exact same thing that happened to Ben Shapiro, right? And like a lot of the people who ended up on like the Daily Wire and stuff were former people like who wanted to go and like go into Hollywood and they failed, and then so that it's like right-wing versions of stuff or whatever is like it's essentially like a jobs program for untalented people, right? Like it's people who are untalented and were unable to make it, like, and so this is what they do instead. And like it's so popular though because there is a real demand for it. But yeah, I don't know, it is kind of funny to think of it as like a jobs program for untalented hacks though.
For the worst comedians on earth. I mean, you can even see this with Brian Callen and Chris D'Elia now too, who went basically far right with their politics and their comedy after getting canceled by the quote-unquote woke mind virus. So the right-wing pipeline attracts way more of this bad comedy that you see nowadays, which John Marco touches a little more on here.
I think the right-wing turn, it's just like the map of it is so clear. The infrastructure of it is so clear. The different podcasts, the different shows, politically how to respond. I mean, I would argue that sometimes some of it's just tied to bad writing. I think
bad comedy writing
where I feel like to my mind, whether it be racism or homophobia or kind of these simple things where ultimately it's like, ew, or get them out of here. And the joke is just on that. It's such a basic joke. So I think a lot of bad comedians or a lot of ones who are lazy gravitate towards that.
Yeah, it's low effort, talentless slop. And it's not just comedy. It's like everything. It's YouTube. It's like it's movie production or whatever. It's like there will always be a large amount of money to produce, like to invest into like pumping this shit out because it's beneficial to, like, you know, our pedo billionaire overlords to have people like be as reactionary as possible. And then like I don't know, it's just and then it's also so easy to do. It requires so little actual talent to do. So yeah,
because
that's why if you do it to the left, you're not going to make as much money. There's no point to do it to the left because you will just become talentless, or like less, like you will be engaging in talentless material, but you will then you'll be you might get some audience who's looking for that or whatever, but it will never be as big as the audience you can get if you just do it to the right.
You can find an audience that will laugh at you going like, gay.
Okay.
And
give me a name for this. Is there someone in particular that you have in mind?
Name names.
No, I was reading something. It was recently. It was Rob Schneider was opening for someone, and I was listening.
I was like, is he gonna say it or do I have to say?
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. Even when you said that, I was like, I got 20 I could say. And some will play with that and are still great comedians, but like people like Rob Schneider, I think I feel pretty.
Yeah, that's the classic.
Saying it's not like I've watched a lot of his stand-up.
He's
but
doing specials on like Fox Nation or something now.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
From what I've gathered of his stand-up, it's bad.
Another weak angle that these right-wing comedians take these days is that they're standing up for free speech somehow. Almost like they're pretending that they can't say certain words on stage.
I say it all the time. I say it all the time. Go out onto a college campus and protest with be a pro-Palestinian protester, and then I'll believe that you're a free speech warrior.
So being that John Marcos Arezzi's pretty good pals with Stavros Halkias, I just wanted to briefly share a clip with you guys where Stavros talks about this free speech hypocrisy. Because Stavros and John Marco are in the same school of thought, and they're both, in general, sort of spearheading this new class of dark woke comedians that are entirely against.
I saw Stavi. He's really funny, and he doesn't shy away from. humor that I think would like in like woke one era be considered a little bit like, ooh, should he say that sort of stuff or whatever. But it's never offensive, and I think that's the key. If you're going to, like I always say, if you're going to use these words, or if you're going to be uh like engage in some of that sort of stuff, then the key aspect is you just got to be funny. And if you're not funny, if there's no good jokes or whatever, then it's just boring and offensive. Like
everything that goes down at the mothership.
That's my favorite thing about stand-up comedy now is people pretend we're deep. It's like, that's so stupid. Yeah. You need to be funny. The entire job is be funny. There is not any other thing about it. It's the simplest art form on earth is make people laugh by any way you need to do it, figure it out. But you don't got to make them think. It doesn't have to be fucking poignant. And some people can do it. Yeah, their acts stink. That's the thing. It's like their acts are mediocre at best, and you don't grow if you fucking. And here's the other thing. And we'll stop talking about comedy soon. We just, because I don't want to be one of those podcasts that overdoes it, but like, you exist against something, and it's like, what do you have to say? Like all the people who talk about free speech, and I think you should be able to, I'm a huge free speech guy, obviously, but you need something to say. Yeah. And you should be able to say the most offensive things for a reason, not just because you're bombing, and if you say hard, it'll get a laugh.
Exactly.
That's not a joke.
Yeah,
that's literally not a joke.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. See, Stavi says it a lot better than I do, but like that's exactly what I'm saying. It just has to be funny. If you're going to use a word like retard or gay as a pejorative or like or whatever, right? Like if you're going to use these words, then it has to be funny, and it has to be worth it, and it has to like not be at the expense of like the marginalized group. Like that's all it has to do.
This notion of like you just want to do comedy in a vacuum where there's no repercussions, where it's just like say whatever you want, and we can't even, because it's like you say free speech is like, yeah, we don't want you arrested. We just want to not laugh,
just to say you're bombing in a fucking
that's
hack.
It. Right.
You are that.
Like you want freedom from that?
Yeah. I know.
I can't say you're bombing in a fucking hack.
Okay. That's good enough. With that one, I was trying to find like a story to read. 1 second. I don't know if I can. 1 second here. You know what? I'll just do a different story. That one I was gonna make me like log in with something. Okay. I think that I want to read about this story up next. Hopefully there's no ad or like it's not gated or whatever. After this though, I'm just gonna scroll through X for a little bit and then probably call it. But I don't know. This title caught my eye. You know, I love a good opinion piece from The Hill. The Hill, very much a like Republican coded newspaper, but yeah, it can usually be fun. And I'm curious now. I'm curious after all of this time. The article title is "Don't Let the Cradle of Christianity Become Its Graveyard." I'm curious if they're finally against all of the wars that are happening all around, you know, the biblical homeland of Jesus or whatever. I'm wondering if they're a little bit tired of all that. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this article real quick. It doesn't look too long. So this is "Don't Let the Cradle of Christianity Become Its Graveyard" by Frank R. Wolf. Okay. At 87 years old, after decades in the halls of Congress, I have learned that history does not merely repeat itself. It warns us. Yeah, no shit. In 1985, I stood in Romania as Nicolae Ceausescu bulldozed churches. In the 1990s, I fought to lift the arms embargo so Bosnian Muslims could defend themselves against ethnic cleansing. I visited and advocated for Christians and Yazidis who were being persecuted and displaced in Iraq. I have slipped into Tibet to witness the silent suffering of Buddhists, and I met with Catholics and house church leaders in China and met with Premier Li Peng to seek the release by name of the many wrongly imprisoned under his hand of tyranny. It sounds like you've been pretty busy. I guess looking for marginalized groups everywhere that he can. Sometimes I get a little bit, you know, meeting with Catholics and house church leaders in China. Like, I think we really, I don't think China persecutes like religion that much, is my understanding. But who knows? I've never actually been there, so. One of my last speeches in Congress was a warning about the growing anti-Semitism on American campuses. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Woo, woo. Anti-Israel is anti-Semitism alert. A sentiment that has exploded into our consciousness over the last 2 years. Yeah, I mean, anti-Semitism has blown up, but it hasn't been on the left. I will assure you that. We'll see. We'll see. If he's really talking about those pro-Palestine encampments, like, yeah, that was not anti-Semitism. That was anti-genocide. In 1998, I was proud to lead the charge for the International Religious Freedom Act. I believed then, as I do now, that the right to worship is the foundational pulse of a free society. But today, that pulse is weakening in Syria. Oh, God. Okay. I really have no idea where he's going with this. Because Syria, I'm assuming most people are aware, but like Syria was kind of propped up to some extent. The previous Syrian government was propped up by Russia, I think, as a counterbalance to America in the region. During the whole, like, because of, Russia being a little overextended, that ended up collapsing. So now you essentially have a new government that's trying to align with America, but Israel is also like, stealing their territory and land as they're wont to do, So, and I don't think they really have the capability to fight back against it right now because they kind of lost that support from Russia, or at least some of the groups that were in charge before did. But anyway, let's see what else he has to say. Syria is the cradle of Christianity. It is the land where the Apostle Paul was blinded by light on the road to Damascus. Yet today, the ancient communities of Christians, Druze, Alawites, Yazidis, and Kurds are facing a surge of violence, including killings and displacements. I wonder by who? Who are they going to think it is? I'm curious. Christians are fleeing. Yeah, and this is clearly going to be this dude is very, very religious, apparently. If he's peppering in these, like, these little Bible stories or whatever, but Christians are fleeing Syria to the point where their ancient communities may disappear, and it's just released 2026 annual report. The bipartisan U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom has recommended Syria as a country of particular concern, a designation reserved for the most egregious violators of religious freedom. Maybe, I don't know. The current instability under the leader of Ahmed al-Sharaa is not merely a regional hiccup. It is a global security fuse. As president, al-Sharaa brings a pedigree of association with al-Qaeda. That's right. He's the al-Qaeda guy that we installed as the leader of Syria. A history that cannot be ignored. Oh, trust me, we will ignore it. we love ignoring people's Al-Qaeda ties. It's one of our favorite things, or ISIS ties, or whatever. If it's beneficial to the current the current goals of the administration, we will always ignore it. It's how we like gave Osama bin Laden all those weapons to use against Iran, and then he became our enemy number one in the future. We have a very short memory in America. His apparent lack of control over his own forces has turned Syria into a vacuum of unaccountability where minority groups are the primary victims. The numbers should haunt us. U.S. intelligence officials estimate that 15,000 to 20,000 former ISIS fighters were recently released or escaped from Syrian prisons, while some have been moved to Iraq temporarily for later possible return to their more than 67 countries of origin. Many remain unaccounted for. As someone who represented constituents killed in the 9/11 attack on the Pentagon, I see the shadows of the past lengthening. if we allow Syria to become a playground for reorganized terror cells, we aren't just abandoning religious minorities. We could be inviting the next 9/11 to our shores. Yeah, no shit. Our adventurism always does this. You know what would help, though? You know, it would probably help this situation if Israel wasn't like in the process of like stealing Syrian territory as we speak, and also like destabilizing the entire region, and also causing us to go to war with Iran. Which, by the way, yeah, okay, maybe there'll be some sort of new terror cell like from Syria or whatever, but like we're in the process of literally destabilizing Iran that's going to create the like most insane version of ISIS that like anyone could ever imagine. Like, um, but yeah, the United States cannot afford to be a passive observer of its own interests. We need a strategy of presence and pressure. I propose 4 immediate steps for the 119th Congress. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy, I can't wait to hear them. I also, does this guy not know that like Congress doesn't do anything anymore? The Congress passes 1 bill a year, and it's like the appropriations or whatever. It's like the main funding bill, and that's like the only thing that they pass. Like, I don't think that they're going to. I don't think they're going to pass anything here, dude. You have better luck asking for some executive orders from Big Daddy Donald if you wanna get anything to happen. But let's see what his 4 brilliant ideas for stabilizing Syria and preventing the Christian genocide or whatever he thinks is happening right now. Um, First, we can establish a Syria study group modeled after the bipartisan Baker-Hamilton Commission that helped to navigate the Iraq War. We need a panel of experts to provide a clear-eyed assessment of the al-Shura regime and our policy options. Okay. Wasn't he the one we installed there? Like, isn't he our guy? Like, I thought didn't he come to the Oval Office? I thought, like, he's our guy, I thought. So I don't know why you're upset. Um, we also need direct congressional engagement. It is not enough to read sanitized intelligence briefings. Members of Congress must go to the region. Okay, dude. There's only one country in the Middle East that Congress ever goes to, and that is Israel. The other countries are just they're just before Israel's. They're pre-Israel. Someday they will become Israel, and when they become Israel, then our Congress members will go there once Israel conquers all of them or whatever the fuck their goals are. But that's silly. That's very silly. They must meet with al-Shura, but more importantly, they must meet with the minority leaders who have been denied a voice. Like, I wonder what his thoughts are on how it was before, or like how Syria, you know, like before we toppled whatever his name was who was leading it before. But additionally, Congress should establish a bipartisan Syrian caucus. Syria's stability is not a partisan issue. We need a dedicated caucus to monitor these events daily, ensuring that the plight of the persecuted remains on the front burner of the State Department. That's too much work for them, man. They're lazy. And finally, there should be more diaspora advocacy. To my fellow citizens in the Syrian diaspora, your voice is the most potent tool in Washington. Yeah, they love expats over in Washington. So, I mean, for real, like they will probably listen to you. Um, a Capitol Hill Day is essential to remind lawmakers that their constituents care about the fate of the Middle East. As a follower of Jesus, I am called to advocate for the least of these. Okay. And as a former lawmaker, I know that justice and national security are two sides of the same coin. If we fail to act, the end of Christianity and its cradle will be the preamble to a new era of global instability. We have the tools, we have the history, now we must find the will. I think you're going to be looking for that will for a while, because I got news for you. There's a certain country over in the Middle East that is not too fond of Christians, okay? Uh, and it's not like, you know, it's not Palestine, it's not the West Bank. They lived in harmony with Christians for a long time. But there's a certain country over there that rhymes with schmizmeal that I think might have a problem with all this Christian shit over there. But okay, well that was, I guess, an interesting article. I don't know this guy, but you know, I think he's going to be waiting a while. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Okay, let's go over to X for a little bit, and then I got to get out of here because I got to do some prep work for my raid. Today's the first day that we're raiding for the new World of Warcraft expansion, so I got to watch some videos and stuff. But let's see. Let's see what we got over on X.com. The Everything app. Ready or not to? Whoa. Well, Neff, I guess he went to the premiere or something. Oh. Whoa. Is it true that if Americans die for Israel, they get 72 burgers? I assume that this is like the 72 virgins or whatever. I bet Americans would die for burger, if I had to guess. I think a lot of them already have. If I like honestly, I think a lot of people would die for burger. Kneecap. Okay, they're going to Cuba. They're bringing medical aid. That's nice. Especially thanks. The USA is illegally and savagely strangling the island and crippling its people. Yeah, it's evil. Very, very evil. This is insane. One of the best OSINT accounts. I don't know what that means. Oh, open source intelligence. Oh, okay. It must be like the Twitter sleuths, as I like to call them, the people who go out and find stuff. I'm still new to X.com, the Everything app, so I don't know all of these acronyms or whatever. But one of the best OSINT accounts on here, always reliable. Why did they nuke him? I'm sure that he Twitter sleuthed too close to the sun. He probably said some or like found too much information about the Iran war or something, if I had to guess. Let's see what this
First
has
things
to
first,
say.
last things last. Iran is dog walking the United States military. Dog walking Israel. And on top of that, I don't care how many AI videos y'all show me with him, with Netanyahu, with fake flags, 7 fingers, over the bridge, around the bridge, at a coffee shop. That man is probably in hell. I love that. But
yeah, I don't think so. I'm sorry. We'll see, but like I really don't think so.
I think it's really important for all of us to understand that because Iran is dog walking the United States, they are looking to escalate the situation very highly. Especially if Bibi is dead, they are going to try to use a nuclear weapon.
What?
So I need us all to lock in on that because
Israel, is she saying Israel is going to? They might. I don't know. They're pretty insane. If things start going real bad, they might.
This situation get much more catastrophic than it already is. The United States military dropped another bomb on a children's school today, and I think we need to talk more about that. And also, it is important that we continue to hammer home the fact that Operation Epstein Fury was only put into motion because this president wants to cover up his crimes. There have been multiple mentions, and at this point, Congress people have said there's video evidence of our president being a pedophile. Okay, so
that's our president. We love our big pedo president. I don't know why she's coming for him so hard. Oh, let's see what Mamdani has to say about St. Patrick's Day.
As New Yorkers celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I think of the words of St. Patrick himself, the Apostle of Ireland. In the 5th century, in what we now know as Ireland, a British warlord named Caradocus had laid waste to the countryside. St. Patrick implored the soldiers responsible to stop. Overcome by grief, he wrote, "All I can do is what is written. Weep with those who weep." It is no small act to weep with those who weep. It is a choice, one that many do not make. It requires sacrifice, a subjugation of the self, solidarity. Irish solidarity is no coincidence, as it was on Irish soil that the British Empire developed their colonial project. So much of the exploitation later imposed elsewhere across the world was honed first in the plantations in Ireland. Who can better understand those who weep than those who have wept for so long? And yet the story of Ireland is not merely one of violent oppression, of subjugation, of attempted domination. It is one of resistance too.
Hell yeah.
For centuries, generation after generation waged a lonely effort for independence. Year after year, uprising after uprising, they were brutally beaten back. And still, they kept coming. I think of leaders like James Connolly and Patrick Pearse, who roused hundreds of thousands with demands of political freedom and economic self-determination. I think of those who endured unimaginable hardship during the Troubles, the 10 prisoners who died after going on hunger strike to protest the British government's refusal to deem them political prisoners. I think of the many whose names have been lost to time, who perished from a famine exacerbated by imperial callousness. And I think of the discrimination Irish New Yorkers faced when they first came to these shores. They were barred from employment and housing. Signs plastered across storefronts read, "Help wanted, no Irish need apply." They did not grow discouraged, however. They organized, mobilized, and formed labor movements.
I love Irish people, dude. They got a good history.
That endure
I like
to
'em.
this day. It was Irish hands that helped build so much of the city we recognize today. The skyscrapers that pierce clouds, the tunnels carved through bedrock. If solidarity has so often been withheld from the Irish, it has never been withheld by the Irish. An Irish diplomat named Roger Casement helped to expose the barbarism of Belgian King Leopold II in the Congo Free State. After Dublin supermarket workers went on a 3-year strike to protest apartheid, the Irish government banned the import of South African goods, the first complete ban by a Western government. And in 1980,
they led the way.
Ireland was the first EEC nation to call for a Palestinian state.
Yeah.
For years afterwards, Irish leaders like former President Mary Robinson stood steadfast.
The Irish are like one of the only like quote unquote white or like white westernized countries that has ever like stood with the Palestinians.
And their support for Palestinian freedom. Today, as we celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I know there are many who feel a continued obligation to one another, to a world where justice does not feel so often like the exception, to all those who still weep. Happy St. Patrick's.
Yeah. See, this is one of those things that's like, it's nice to have a DSA member in one of these seats of power, or someone so visible to just say like the obvious stuff that everybody should know. Oh, yeah. World Central Kitchen working tirelessly to feed hundreds of thousands of people across Gaza and other conflict zones. They serve 1 million meals daily in Palestine alone. That's awesome. World Central Kitchen rules. Israel bombed the shit out of them when they tried to deliver food to Palestinians back in the day. So fuck Israel, as I always say. Oh, I was gonna check. I don't think the stuff is probably in yet. Yeah, it hasn't started. The Cat Abu Ghazala primary, I think, is tonight. I think the polls close at 7 though, so we won't know anything until after them. But hopefully she wins. Let's see. Instead of sitting on your ass waiting to be served a candidate by the DNC, we are going to have to organize and recruit our own candidates. Luckily, that is already happening. Join in with us. Oliver Larkin is our ideal leftist candidate. DNC or leftist. You have 2 years to generate a candidate that doesn't support genocide. DNC. So you're just gonna let Trump win? Yeah. Classic. I like that one. Yeah. Oh, that's badass. Rashida Tlaib calling for the UK to get their chubby little hands off of that northern part of Ireland and the occupation, right? Let's see. Aw. Children playing among the rubble. The human spirit of the Palestinians is incredible to see. It's the day. I mean, oh, I don't think I can listen to that. I don't think I can listen to that on my YouTube channel. Oh, this might be fun. Okay.
Come back.
We're gonna watch this video and then I'm gonna get out of here. This is by the Surfs, or like they posted it, but a visibly intoxicated Alex Jones reveals live on air that InfoWars is closing down next month and proceeds to demand a table dance from Tim Pool and thirsts for Jussie. Yeah, Alex Jones has been really like really horny lately. I don't know why. I don't know what is in the like what he has been drinking, what's in the water over there. I like I said before, it might be that whatever turned the frogs gay, but he is like really horny right now.
Come back whenever you want.
How long are you in Austin?
Couple weeks.
Here for South by Southwest.
We're not here for it, but we're here during it. You know, one of the reasons I came down here is I was going to be playing poker at the lodge, and then the
with the
state
boys
shut them down. I'm pissed about it.
What's weird was I texted
bringing it
you a
up.
week ago. Somebody texted me and said, "Hey, Tim's here, come on the show." I'm like, "Am I supposed to be on your show?" Like, I don't know, but play poker. But
Yeah. Well, we want to do a poker game with you and a few other people. Not so much about poker, but about having fun, goofing off, and
I don't understand. I don't understand why he likes to play poker so much. Like it's like the only thing that he does is in his free time. It's like and I guess that he skateboards too, right? I think that's the other thing he does.
Fun to play a game.
I'm ready. I'm ready. But don't follow me at Real Life Shows on X and Force.com. We're getting.
Oh
we're
yeah,
getting
he's
shut
slosh.
down. We beat so many attacks, but finally we're shutting down like the middle of next month.
Wow.
It's gonna be insane what happens. People,
Yeah. So
that alcohol is he's so uncomfortable. That alcohol is really I think it's counterbalancing the Ozempic. I think he's reached a nice middle ground here if I had to guess.
Wow.
It's gonna be insane what happens. People,
Totally.
Yeah. So this
the
is
receiverships, the fake auctions, all of it's happening right now.
So what are you gonna do? You're launching a new thing, or what are you doing?
Yeah, Real Shows Network. We'll be fine.
All right.
Oh man.
Are you leaving? Is that why you're saying all this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am exhausted, brother.
Well,
Yeah,
it's good to have
I
you.
can tell.
4 a.m.
I can tell you can barely talk, dude. Like
a table dance for me.
No.
He's not on this table.
None of this. Yeah.
Maybe
no.
next time.
These things
Who's
are probably
this?
like
Yeah,
$20.
Really not
Who's
gonna
this?
withstand anybody.
Oh no, these are okay.
Who's that?
My wife over there.
Pull it
Maybe
off.
do a table dance.
Where's she?
How many people
You
are on
sound
the
tired.
show?
You should look
I
like
am
falling asleep.
extremely exhausted.
Have a nice rest, man.
Well, it's good having you, brother. Just come back whenever you
You guys
want.
go for hours, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go for
Oh my
another 2
gosh.
hours.
I want to come back.
You are allowed. That is always that is acceptable.
Here for 2 weeks.
Hey, we've all been in this situation before, though. Not his situation. Sorry, Tim Pool's situation, where there is an aggressively drunk person, like you're trying to like get out of a conversation with, and they just keep on talking to you, and they do not understand that you like they're too drunk to like pick up on the social cues that like you want this conversation to end. And every time you try to like be like okay yeah, and then like turn around to talk to your friends, they like grab your shoulder and aggressively pull you back to keep talking to you. Like we've all been there before.
I want to come back.
You are allowed. That is always that is acceptable.
Here for 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Do not visit Real Life Shows on X. Do not follow it.
What the fuck did he just say?
Real Alex Jones on X. Did you get it?
He's like, let me just repeat that for you, for everyone who like is not 20 beers in.
But imagine a giant Joe Rogan pussy.
The Jussy, that's what he meant. I was wondering what he meant and thirst for Jussy. Oh my god, okay. I mean, I don't know if I thirst for that. I'm
Come
sorry.
back. I'm gonna come back.
I'm sorry. That's too much for me. That's too much for me, Alex Jones. I'm sorry. Okay, well, I guess that's a good enough note to end it on. The Jussy. Yeah, that's a pretty good stream. I think we had some fun today. I hope everybody enjoyed it if you're watching. And stay safe, stay strong. I'm technically Clay, and I am out of here. Bye-bye.